My name's David Reid and I'm Artistic Director of the Melbourne Cabaret Festival. This is now our fourth festival.
I'm Neville Sice, the Executive Director of the Melbourne Cabaret Festival. It's a title I bestowed on myself when we first started it, and I think I'm just starting to understand what that's about.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the 2013 Melbourne International Cabaret Festival Gala opening.
Cabaret began, hundreds of years ago in Europe, and it's a particular art form. It's an art form that engages with its audience. It started in beer halls in the Netherlands and in France, and it was riotous, it was political, it was satirical, and people went along and had a lot of fun, had a lot to drink, and engaged and interacted with the performers. And that's pretty much, that characterises cabaret. Post-Second World War, there was a split where American cabaret, Broadway-style musicals took over part of the cabaret scene, and some of the cabaret performers went that way, and in Europe it stayed political, edgy, more that beer hall genesis where it began. So in Australia, you have a mixture of both kinds. We think in Sydney it's a little more Broadway, and in Melbourne it's a little more satirical. It's a little more in keeping with its origins.
I think this is where Melbourne is quite lucky, is because we do have all forms of cabaret in the city, whereas other cities around the world tend to pick one or the other, whereas Melbourne's this fantastic blend.
Got to get me instant gratification. Give me new tricks, won't you show me new kicks without the ramification.
Spanky is the most awarded cabaret artist in Australia in the last 12 months. There's barely an award that he hasn't won, and for good reason. He writes a most fabulous show.
They kiss and they tell, misjudged and misquoted, fell into the abyss. I must have one of this. Another man exploded.
My name is Rhys Morgan, and I'm also known as Spanky, which is my cabaret performer name that I use when I'm treading the boards and things like the Melbourne Cabaret Festival.
Take a weight off your mind, trust the voice of experience. I'll tell you little white lies, viva indifference.
The thing that I find about cabaret that's important to me, or the purpose that it achieves, is the fact that it's so immediate. And people talk about kind of like the diminishing of the fourth wall and all that kind of stuff in a theatrical environment. And if you look at any kind of cabaret performer who's, got a bit of experience under their belt, it's what happens, that there's a really obvious conversation between performer, the space between, and the audience.
So come make me whole body and soul. Come make me whole body and soul. Come make me whole. Well, come on, oh. You know that you want it now. You come on, oh. You know that you want it and how. Give me no kicks, I wanna go deeper. I've never been too keen a timekeeper. Show me new tricks, you can get me on the beeper. I'm a pure new pleasure seeker.
What I've seen, and I'm lucky because I've kind of got to see what has been happening and what is happening in London as opposed to what's happening here, is that the scene is really just as vibrant, just as valid, just as interesting as what is in London. I think the influences are a little different. I think here in Melbourne you have a lot of people who are coming from a musical theatre background, whereas a lot of people over in London have more of a fashion, performance art, club kind of influence.
Well, come on now, you know that you want it and how. Give me new kicks, I wanna go deeper. I have never been too keen a timekeeper. Won't you show me new tricks?
Now get me on the beeper.
I'm a pure new pleasure seeker, one you left behind.
Come make me whole body and soul. 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 Come on!
Melbourne tends not to be that style of music theatre performance where everything's scripted. And everything, every line ends in a song. I think our cabaret performers are a little more adventurous, perhaps, with their writing and a little more creative.
I'm Joanna O'Callaghan. I'm the Short and Sweet Cabaret Festival Director. I was lucky enough to be able to theme a show and choose the 6 performers that I wanted to work with, and work with them very briefly as a director to put together a 60-minute piece, and this year it was entitled Ladies. So the theme came from a number of the artists that did shows written about ladies that existed. So everyone from Oprah to Florence Walsh to Leonardo DiCaprio's stalker, and Lucy was one of those participants, and she was really great, and she's been a part of Short and Sweet for many years and keeps coming back to do 10-minute pieces, and I'm really thrilled to see her do her full-length show at the Butterfly Club next week. So it's great to see that career development in those artists, going from 10 minutes moving forward into a professional setting at Melbourne Cabaret Festival, and then moving forward even further to do full-length shows. So it's really exciting to see that development.
You'll be prince and I'll be princess. It is love story, baby, just say yes.
Whisper in a laneway in a twisted town, a secret in the shadows when the lights go down, just behind the curtain, flashing in the night all around. And now you found your underground. Tiny drop of liquor and a painted smile. Your breathing fans the candle and you stay a while. Music makes you tremble like smoke and the noise of the crowd. They call so loud, you're underground. Promise in the salon made by ruby lips. Join the cabaret as the dancing flames are burning you down. Oh, what a sound! You're underground, yeah. You're underground. You're
cabaret is bubbling away under the surface of Melbourne's arts scene all year round. You know, in small venues, in established venues all across the city. Cabaret happened every night of the year across Melbourne.
The Butterfly Club, I think, started 13 or 14, 15 years ago in South Melbourne, and it's continuing strong. They're now doing more performances than ever before, and I mean, the number of shows that go through that venue in a year is astronomical. The Chapel Off Chapel is doing a lot of cabaret. The Globe is a new venue in Chapel Street in Pomeranz, and the Kew Courthouse.
What I've experienced in Melbourne is definitely that edginess and that grit and the grime and the underground frivolity that is unafraid to really peel back some of those sort of layers of fluff and just get to the nitty-gritty and explore that with great joy and passion.
Also supported by our strong music industries, our strong circus background, our strong theatre presence, comedy scene. All of these things meld together in Melbourne to create, you know, a really diverse cabaret scene.
Melbourne is really a great city for ideas. I mean, we have a huge comedy festival here. We have the Fringe Festival. And I think the Cabaret Festival and cabaret generally are really coming into their own here in Melbourne. And the Melbourne Cabaret Festival has really encouraged that in a big way. And this year it's really taken a big step forward by having the gala at the Palais Theatre in St Kilda.
It's not a museum. It's not a lecture. It's supposed to be kind of raunchy and fun. And it's very gratifying for me to come to Melbourne, Australia, and to see all of this happening in the space of this wonderful festival that I got to participate in.
The kind of cabaret that I like, which I think Melbourne represents, is a very political and social sort of cabaret. It's something that's promoting behaviour change, that's really getting out there and supporting really poignant current political topics. And that's something that I haven't seen travelling around the world. It's definitely something that I think Melbourne owns, is that real voice and a strength to tell their story, and a story that's relevant to the community and the culture that is today.
Talk about a bloody omen. Wham! It was a rapid decline from purebred to mongrel. 7 violent scratches. Missing 2 hubcaps. I smashed in the headlight. The windshield got a fat crack. Boot doesn't shut cause some bitch rammed up my back. 4 balding tigers can't get you too far. Wham soon turned into my piece of shit car. I am actually quite impeccable behind the wheel of a car. Some would almost say a stunt driver. I once managed to land Mum's car up an embankment and in the front of someone's yard. Side on.
I love to tell stories and I love to share, and I don't have many boundaries when it comes to what I share with people. I'm quite an open book. So for me, cabaret is a perfect forum because I can just be completely honest, completely exposed, completely vulnerable, and I'm quite okay with that.
And I would wake in the morning and step outside, and I'd take a deep breath as you march with pride, and I shout at the top of my lungs, what's going on? And I said, hey, yeah, 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 Dad's gay, yeah, yeah. I said, hey, Dad, what's going on?
I constructed and designed my show. It was actually based on a project that I did at VCA, which is the Victorian College of the Arts, where I studied. And we had to do a project on cabaret. And I'd seen quite a few cabarets sort of in my early mid-20s while I was at drama school. And I knew that that is a forum that I felt like that would be where I'd feel quite comfortable. I love performing as myself rather than a character. I mean, I love performing as a character, but I felt quite comfortable doing that. And we had to come to our first lesson with some ideas. And I didn't necessarily think that I'd do a show based on my life, but I sat down and I said, well, my dad's gay, my mum had an affair with her handyman, my dad's partner's transgender, I used to be a stripper, I've written off 5 cars, I've got $3,000 worth of parking, and the teacher was just like, this is cabaret gold.
And I kind of found it a bit of a novelty that Dad and I would be having a perv on the same backside. And I got got really excited watching the Mardi Gras on TV. You know, I'd never know if Dad would pop up to say, "Hello, sweetheart," in a pair of leather chaps. But then, several years later, there was another bombshell. "Hello, lovey. It's Dad. I've got some news. I've met someone. And it's a woman. That was a man." 21 years of my life and still trying to deal with Dad's latest lady friend and her, well, his alteration.
Tara Minton originally comes from Melbourne. She's one of the few cabaret performers I know and know of that has a harp as her instrument of choice. The combination of a beautiful voice with a beautiful instrument like the harp just sets the scene for a wonderful show.
Rock and roll romance, 'cause you know we both got the soul. Heading out on tour, you never can be sure, 'cause neither one of us has much self-control. But babe, you know that you'll only leave me unless, of course, first I leave you. And then what would you do if I told you we're through? Guess it wouldn't take long to find someone new. Oh, baby, shall we chance a rock and roll romance? Can folk like you and me ever really fall in love? We won't get very far with a harp and a guitar. No, we all knew this was doomed from the start. Rock and roll romance, though it don't stand a chance, still I know we're gonna try and make this grand piano fly.
Ladies and gentlemen, would you please make welcome to the stage the feather ruffler, the rabble rouser, the world-famous cabaret provocateur, Miss Joanna O'Callaghan!
Joanna O'Callaghan's, I think, one of the great success stories of this festival. She opened the second half of the opening gala, and I think it's fair to say that a lot of people were surprised and delighted by her routine.
As the ocean, I'm blue, I'm as blue as the sky. I'm as blue as your new jeans. I'm as blue jelly beans. Oh, I'm blue. Good evening, labels and generalized. My name is Joanna O'Callaghan, and the show I'll be performing in the Cabaret Festival is called Between the Cracks. Oh, what's that up? What's that? Oh, it's my earring. I wondered where that went.
So the character, Joanna O'Callaghan, started in about 2007. Well, the seed of it started in 2006 when I was at a bit of a low point in my life, and I decided that I needed somewhere to put my anger, my feelings, my opinions. I was, I think, about 28 or something. I was going through a Saturn return as well. So it kind of made sense to split off, I guess, a slightly dysfunctional version of myself and form her into a character. I think it's been really cathartic.
I'm as blue as a black eye. I'm as blue as blueberry pie. Oh, I'm blue. Guess where I'm coming? In your laps.
I mean, Yana thinks she's sexy. She thinks she's right. She thinks that people care, love her. The whole world revolves around her. And I think there's a little part of Yana in most people.
I'm blue. I'm as blue as a blue whale. I'm blue as the vein in your arm. I'm as blue as the deep freeze. I'm as blue as 3-year-old cheese. Oh, I'm blue. Jabba jabba, nabba baba boo. I'm blue and nothing in between. Except when I'm not, I get green. Oh, I'm blue. Jabba jabba, jabba dabba dabba boo. Thank you. Oh, thank you so much.
Adam Guettel is fantastic talent out of the United States. Won many awards over there, including Tony Award.
Mom, who art in heaven, are you far away? Can you really hear me? 'Cause I have a lot to pray.
Adam Guettel is part of our professional development program as well, so we had about 50 audience members go to his masterclass and participate in that. It tended to be the music theatre performers, singers, writers that went to his masterclass and got a lot out of it. He's a really incredible, he shares so much of his experience with his masterclass participants. He's quite generous with his time and his knowledge.
I have got a new address and I want you to know where I am, how to get here, what to do. If you need to find me beyond the field, behind the railroad track, I built our old house back.
You know, theater singing and cabaret singing is not about singing perfectly or even well. It's about inhabiting somebody very specifically. And that allows the audience to kind of lean in and kind of really examine this little snow globe.
Come down for just a minute, rest in your old room. Hide and I will find you, I will follow your perfume, and you will ask me how was school.
And I sang professionally as a boy soprano when I was a kid. I did a lot of things at the Met and a lot of solos, and that got me into it, and also I think helped to form the kind of music I make now. You know, a real love of the human voice and wanting to explore it, wanting to kind of delve into all of its possible shadings and potentials.
Could I be Leander on the wave? Am I born to a new home across this lonely sea?
It's so fragile and so triumphant at the same time. It's the strongest, most tensile strong thing in the world. When a song is going over well, when a performer is comfortable, when the band is right there, when the sound is happening, when the staging is right, and that sort of the mise en scène is spinning and buoyant, and the audience is ensconced in this experience. It's more 3D than 3D. It's sort of 5D. It's a dimensionality that includes one's own experience, one's past, and I speak from the audience's point of view, when it's working, you're so inside of it that you feel like you're living in this world.
My name's Kath Carmody and I am the production coordinator for the Melbourne Cabaret Festival. And what that entails is I'm the link between the artists and the venues and David and Neville for rehearsals and bump-ins and sound checks and everything like that. It's part of my job to have an overview of all of those and make sure there's no overlaps and then change things if there is.
David Pomeranz has sold over 40 million albums worldwide, which makes him one of the highest selling solo artists, living artists in the world. He writes some beautiful songs. His passion is songwriting, and from pop songwriting through to ballads, but it's all contemporary, and some of the music that he performed over the festival I think blew people away. This particular show that he brought to us was an amazing concept. It was about Charlie Chaplin's reflections on his life the night before he was awarded the Lifetime Achievement Award by the Academy.
My name is Chaplin. It's Chaplin.
He fixes himself up and he goes in.
How the bloody hell did you get in here?
My name is Chaplin. It's Chaplin, and I'm an actor.
Oh, I see. And just what makes you think you can act, lad? You look just like a baby to me. I can tell jokes, and I can mime, sir. And some people even say that I can dance. Oh, I beg you, all that I want is simply off a chance. I'm not interested in Katie. Come back when you're older.
I don't know how many characters I do, 35, 40 characters. And it's in a home Broadway musical with just one guy. And it's cheaper to tour. I'm a favorite of producers. But it's total fun. Because I wrote the music and lyrics, so I get to sing what I wrote. And I love the characters, and I love acting, and I've never done much acting in my life. But I'm finding myself just loving it.
'Cause you're looking at a man who's one of the greats. Not one for talking dogs or spinning plates, but an actor with an actor, knock 'em down, and then before they're standing up, I go and knock 'em down again. Just sign me up, sir, and I swear before the ink dries, I'll have every punter in London slapping their thighs. And so really, forgive me if this seems overdone, but it's just so hard to humble when your number is one. You're looking at number one. Watch me now, I'm gonna be number one.
That's the goal of any art, is to make it better. You know, is to make someone have a different viewpoint, bigger, more expanded, more hopeful, that sort of thing. That's what I like to do. That's the effect I like to make. So like when I do the Charlie Chaplin piece, I mean, that's how I perceive Chaplin. You could see it in his work, see it in his movies, you know, all that humanity.
I'm gonna be...
Yes, what is it now?
I'm a messenger from the Froman Company. He needs your help. Seems there's a part for a young boy. £2.10 a week for 40 weeks in a production about that new chap, Sherlock Holmes. Please respond at once. Well, Chaplin, you think you could do the job? Do the job! Hey, you won't be sorry. I'll be your dream come true. He sure looks happy.
Hey, Mr. Chaplin, tell this man what you intend to do.
I'm gonna be number one. Watch me now, I'm gonna be number one. I'm gonna get up so high, gonna puncture the clouds and barrel up into the sun. Though nobody knows my name, they've only themselves to blame, 'cause it's only a matter of time before the name Chaplin will climb and top the marquee. This boy's going to be number one. Yes, I'm gonna be number one. I'm gonna be number one. Hey, hey, hey. Oh, yes. Thank you, Mr. Blackmore. You won't be sorry, sir. Number one.
So I'm Z, I'm performer liaison for the Cabaret Festival here in Melbourne. My main part of my role is to look after the international artists that come in from the USA and the UK, and I generally kind of just babysit them while they're here.
They say the French are naughty, they say the French are bad. They all declare that over there the French are going mad.
I'm Marika Aubrey and I'm a cabaret artist from Sydney, or I'm Sydney based at least, but I perform everywhere.
They have a reputation of being very gay. I just got back from Paris and I just want to say when they go parlez-vous and parlez-vous, this for you and that for me, 50 million Frenchmen can't be wrong.
The next song, you'd be laughing out loud, and then she'd tell another little sad story about Sophie Tucker or about Marika's own history. And then again, there'd be another roller coaster, and you'd be laughing out loud. I think the show was really quite skillful, and Marika, great credit to her in how she achieved that.
I think it's one of the hardest art forms that there are as an actor or a performer, purely because it's only you up there, usually. So there's not a lot to rely on, and you have to be very self-sufficient. So you learn really fast how to connect with an audience and how to, work with other musicians and be instinctual and cope with mistakes and that live beast that is cabaret. So I think it's a really good learning curve for anyone who wants to up their game.
I wonder what is that kid's game? The way he spends money, it is a shame. Is he from Klondike or from Maine is what I'd like to know. I'm worried about him, I must admit. With the yellow gals he has made an awful hit. I wonder what is that kid's game?
I certainly think that cabaret, is absolutely not the leftovers part at all, but I think some of the most brilliant artists who are in cabaret, and I watch their shows and I go, well, where else would you be making work? Because you're too shiny, you're too different, you're too, that voice is not a chorus line voice. It is something other than that, and it deserves its own platform.
Fem Belling's got a jazz background, originally from South Africa. She became a leading lady in London. She's now living in Melbourne, which we're very lucky to have her here. She came to us with an idea of a Blossom Dearie show. Fem really encapsulated her style, her voice in that show.
I used to visit all the very gay places those come what may places where one relaxes on the axis of the wheel of life to get the feel of life from jazz and cocktails. The girls I knew had sad and solemn grave faces with distant air traces that used to be there. You could see where they'd been washed away by too many through the day.
So Blossom Dearie is a cult chanteuse with caviar taste in music. She's not one of those jazz divas that is hugely known. In fact, that's why she has a cult following. Not many people know her music. She's not widely known.
I will, and yet you are still burning inside my brain. Romance is mush, stifling those who strive. For I'm gonna live a little lush life in some small dive. And there I'll be while I rot with the rest of those whose lives are lonely.
I guess you have to approach something like this from a fairly pragmatic point of view, in that you have some fairly real-world limitations in terms of time and access to performers and rehearsals. So the producers contacted me about providing a lighting design, and having had involvement with Butterfly Club as a Melbourne institution over a few years, and seeing a lot of stuff there, and I had a fair idea of what they were after.
Joey Arias has been a long-time cabaret legend in New York and throughout the United States. He's appeared in feature films. He's collaborated with some of Europe's top cabaret performers. He's a regular appearing in cabarets in Berlin. He's an outstanding proponent of the New York cabaret style, but with a massive gay drag influence. He's a performer really unlike no other.
Hush now, don't explain. You're my joy and pain. I'm glad you're back. Don't explain.
Someone said to me one time, Joey, you were engineered to perform. That is your life, period.
I said, quiet, don't explain. You're my joy and pain. Skip that, let thoughts are of you. I'm so completely yours.
To me, it's kind of a political thing. It's about sexiness. It's about a journey of life. It's something that reflects what's going on in the times. As we see the cabarets changing and moving, so as the times and the world is changing, the cabaret reflects all that.
Cry to hear folks chatter, and you know you cheat. Right or wrong don't matter when you're with me, sweet. Hush now, don't explain. You're my joy and pain.
You don't want to be berated or, you don't want to go and listen to someone tell you what you should think. You want someone to make you want to think about something. So that's what cabaret really explores for me, and the cabaret that I love is someone that tells their story, but their story promotes thought and promotes behaviour change on a much subtler level than a lot of other sort of mainstream art forms do.
I think cabaret is different from other forms of entertainment because, I mean, if you go to the theatre, it's a script and it's actors interpreting a script. If you go to a concert, it's a performer singing songs and might have a little bit of a chat or banter between the songs. But cabaret is there's generally a narrative. It's about a person maybe telling a story, but really communicating with you as an audience member.
Cabaret can be anything under the sun, in my opinion, as long as it's intimate, as long as it's honest, and as long as it's minimalist somehow, and very direct and very uncluttered, and just makes a whole group of strangers feel like they all know one another.
And what love endures, all my thoughts are of you. I'm so completely yours.
The way we're planning for the years ahead, there will be even further growth, and this festival, I'm determined, will become one of Melbourne's great iconic arts festivals.
It can be so many things, but the question still remains. What's it all about? What is Melbourne Cabaret?
I like to sing and act every day.
What I like to call a gay old soiree.
I'll just distract them with a joke and a creepy look.
That's our Melbourne Cabaret.
Working on your own show 24 hours a day.
It's out there, it's provocative, it's funny, it's gay.
It's rich and indulgent like a great Cabernet.
And that's my Melbourne Cabaret.
A little risque.
Hope the pen holding my skirt on will stay.
With a speakeasy vibe, red, white or rosé.
That's my Melbourne Cabaret.
Come and join the fun. Don't let it slip away. Find out for yourself what's your Melbourne Cabaret.